Would you believe, could you imagine, could you get your head around that some things are older than your even concept of time itself?
Yeah.
That appear to be so young? That would be a weird thing to understand. So the universal cycles, if you believe in such a thing in any way. Belief is your thing. That's a you problem, or not. Anyway, but still with the universe being in its younger days, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
To be able to go from the cycling process. What if you were there in the beginning? Wouldn't that be such a surreal thing to experience? Imagine if humanity managed to leave the planet, traverse the universe, understand both sides of, a lot of this stuff with the periodic table is physical, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the stuff you can see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? But there's a whole Pandora's box beyond that, of the stuff you can't see. So imagine going through and figuring out that the periodic table, each one of these is a periodic table just stitched together.
Yeah.
Of all your elements that you thought around Earth. So you build up that periodic table, open up that science book, and you have a look at that periodic table and you think, my word, that's a lot there.
Yeah.
A lot of unknowns
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of potential, all in that.
Yeah.
And then you find out that that periodic table is just scratching a very small surface.
Mm.
Let's say you traverse the whole of the universe and you collect all of the fragments that you can find. So you then begin to understand that there are more elements that build more periodic tables. Let's say you were able to do every single one of them. That would be what you perceive, what you see. And you keep going and you keep going and you keep going and you keep traversing and you manage to build your computers to be able to map this stuff. I mean, being able to map it on a small scale is a hell of achievement, but it's a benchmark of potential, the potential energy. Just to be able to keep on going and going and going. And where does it stop? Because that's the beautiful thing. When then, let's say you manage to discover much, see loads of the periodic table just keeps growing and growing and growing.
Mm-hmm.
And somewhere along the lines, you understand that there's the invisible ratio, the quantum ratio,
Yeah.
the understanding the quantum. Not so easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's equally as important as one versus the other. So you could say, this is all the material that you see.
Mm-hmm.
And then when looking at all of that empty space in between it,
Yeah.
it then begins to build a chart that is equal to the invisible.
Mm-hmm.
And you would call this the quantum table. And what would this is the periodic or the physical. Reality, the quantum. A bit like how the quantum mind can affect reality, but it's got a subconscious mind, I guess, as the fixtures, the arena being a reality inside the quantum, the space around for this light to exist in your mind, and this imagination to build in pictures. Pictures is the universal language. So for humans, it's more picture-based.
Mm-hmm.
In your mind, you see imagination, memories, pictures. Anyway, you get to the part where the universe starts dwindling down and the balance is no longer in the plus, it's more in the minus.
Yeah.
You become at the end of that ratio and you see another cycle emerge. from it.
Mm-hmm.
A new universal cycle where there's more plus and very little minus. In that particular moment, you are the oldest thing in the youngest part of the cycle.
Yeah.
If you think about it, compared to any other life form that would ever rise up in this next cycle. So it's cycled once, you've started from here, lots of making, creating, churning, and it starts to wind down, and then there's more of this
Mm-hmm.
black hole, supermassive black hole pops, and the cycle starts again. And then you can only imagine, with all of this quantum and physical, the inner and outer mind, interesting. Compared to any other life form,
Yeah.
how would you explain to them that you are older than the universe, while the universe is very young? Do you get that?
Yeah, I get that.
To be the youngest thing
Mm.
is interesting. You think that you're a young life form now. Yes, wonderful. You're young, new, coming to grips. You're not that new because of the building blocks that you are remnants. And even if it didn't work here and a meteorite came and the atmosphere blew off of the planet, whatever it may be, and humanity was to end, all nature, everything else, all of these remnants don't stop. All of that information learned in memory of you
Yeah.
and the remnants of your building blocks
Mm-hmm.
then eventually begin to scatter out. Some get mixed back in, others get thrown out in multiple directions. And these small pieces of insignificant bits of information are stored, and when these interact or rendezvous with something else, it's a combination of you and all of this that created you, and this particular biome being a planet, not universal biome. A piece of that information combines with a piece of information that's over here. And once again, this life begins to build with new information. There's multiple ways to achieve this. One is looked at as a family lineage that has spent most of its time living that side of the planet, and another family lineage has spent most of its time learning and evolving, living that side of the planet, understanding its terrain and bugs, infections, bacteria, all the weird and wonderful stuff. And then these two come together, and then they create one from the possibilities of two. And then that's also the bloodlines that go back. All of that is tapped, is untapped potential inside all of you. Interesting. And you are combining this into a single entity, being a child, you would call it. That's one way to achieve that, coming together, where two makes one, two makes one, two makes one. But does it make one? That's an interesting question when you were looking at the quantum. Does it make two? Entangled into one moment, intertangled into two versions of reality, and two, you're like spliced almost. Yeah, like one part of you seems to be here, and another part of you seems to be here,
Mm-hmm.
and then it seems to be mirror imaged. And then you get the Christmas cracker. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. And it doesn't matter which way round you go. So 16, interesting. And compass or whatever else you want to call it. But to imagine that, and you'll never understand information because it's hard, isn't it? It's hard to perceive it from your perspective without really busting open until you become the very thing. Then you look back throughout history. That's if your history books are correct. Do we want history books that are written by people? Or do we want history books captured in light? Format, raw, unfiltered, unedited, real, true, exactly what it is. What happened? History stored in those vials versus books. Books have a tendency to be altered. Bits of information get left out. Bits of information get over embellished. Bits of information get dropped off, twisted. And that doesn't give you a very accurate look back. But to look back through authentic, raw video, I guess even then it's questionable because it can be edited. To look back in the raw, authentic archives of the universe, I mean, that's interesting. To see all of that history played out. I mean, and to reach a point where everything you do, everything you say, everything you think, everything that you are is captured and archived. And all of that memory and information and how things operate here, all stored in there. A single moment that seems so insignificant to pop it, view it, see it, understand it, look back, understand it. I mean, this grows your knowledge even more so if you could look back. If you could look back through your history accurately, what would be more better? Look through the history books with bits missing, or to be able to look back through your reality, all of it correct, all the way back? Which one would be better for you? To see it in its raw, unedited, unfiltered version, or a version that's been tampered? Which one's going to give you a better outcome?
Untempered.
I think the raw one is going to give you the better outcome. This one is going to give you what reality wants you to believe. And therefore, you're creating a quantum version inside a reality version. That's really weird. It's hard to explain that, but even inside this reality, you are creating quantum, which is understood as writing, language, scribble. You've made sense of scribble and you understand what those scribbles mean. Compacted it, and you've created an artificial version of what has actually happened versus what has actually happened. And there's two different things there. Which one do you think would give you a better outcome to know how or what the future could hold based on knowing your past? If you know more in your past, bits that got forgotten and bits that maybe got deliberately left out, which one are you going to know more accurately going forward in order to help you? It's weird, isn't it? Isn't it weird? And you create this artificial version that's like the very gospel. And then to say if we were to follow this would probably scribble out a lot of stuff. But let's say we're recording it in everything that you do, say, think, feel, is all archived, all of it, every single piece of it. And you get to the end of the cycle, and it starts dwindling down, and humans have figured out ways to outrun this and survive the final black hole. If, label it any way you want. I think that any way that you interpret it, it was a big bad Armageddon type situation, or it was some big demon come, and the big black hole was a demon, and this, that, and the other, and whatever, and managed to win for God for a little bit and keep the hand down, and then all of a sudden God, it starts off again. Could you imagine being the beings that see all of that, all of it, the whole lot, times 10 of these, that would understand something in a bit more of a different paradigm to what starting out life forms would understand? They would think maybe they were here from point A to point B, not going to last very much, and then you have a life form that comes down and says, we are older than time itself. What would you do? You would laugh, wouldn't you? first thing, if I didn't explain all of that, would be laughter, giggling, disbelief. Because you can't see it, right? You're crazy, mad, unheard of, because it just doesn't fit your... Until you go through it yourself. See, until you go through it yourself, then you understand something. But then, when it's all quiet, and maybe there are a few life forms, then you know something, don't you? You then know something. Oh, it's starting out again, this, that, and the other. More time to learn, fill in the blanks. You think you got it all until that happens, and then, no, that wasn't true. Okay. And once you've added that in, it then questions this, and then you have to pick apart this, which then helps you create volume 1 of what people wanted reality to be, versus second cycle round of what it actually was, whether you will ever know about that, and even the M ratio, right, where you're so far, the future seems like it's teaching the next gen, the next gen, the next gen, the next gen, the next gen. Keeps teaching backwards, yeah? No matter how you do that, schools and everything else, and it's all going in one particular direction, which looks like it's forward, but actually it's backwards. It's counterintuitive, really. Reality is pushing this way, but your teaching goes this way. Which way is forwards? Do you understand what I mean? The growth ratio and expansion ratio is this way, yes?
Yeah.
But teaching is this way. That sort of switch mismatch, yes?
Yeah.
So what is currently known by big human here and has to be taught to little human here. But life and everything else pushes this way here.
Yeah.
Do you see how it's so already hypocritical, and this sort of makes more sense? Now life stops trajectorying this way, let's say, which it still will be, always keeps going this way. But this teaching ratio needs to go the other way. And then for a moment, reality goes backwards. Just hear me out. And then goes this way. And it goes this way. So we then have it that the eldest vessel, if you make it, and if you believe, if you want to, it's up to you, just helps you build something a little bit more. Then this teaching knowledge starts to go backwards in your lineage. How would you, if you were a diviner collected, a higher power, how would you teach the first generation? The first ever humans that ever walked the earth. How would you ever teach them? The first ones that became aware of their existence. In small amounts, evolved to, or X, Y, Z, whatever it may be, scientific. You see, errors can be put into this, what reality is made to believe, and what we wanted and what we felt like, because we're editing and we've got the choice to edit. So when it comes into the raw, authentic, real version, that starts to go backwards, and then you begin to find that out. I mean, up to you how you want to live your life. If you were a divine, you wanted to speak to these here, how would you do it? You couldn't go there. Well, you could at a certain point where they're still evolving. That's fine. You can show yourself. That's all right. They spin it in loads of beautiful ways. But past a certain point, you can't. You just cannot. It just causes too much friction. So you could think about it. It caused an imbalance, wouldn't it? Straight away, it would create the biggest fucking imbalance that you've ever seen. People from religious factions would hate your guts. People from a military background might be looking at threat. People from a different yada yada. You can keep going, right? So you can understand at a certain point, You just cannot. You meet this wall, this barrier. How do you go around it? Well, you must put safeguards in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, they might start to figure out external quantum, which would be the ratio. And then maybe what was easy to talk to through the void, that everyone would label as darkness. 666, it's got the devil in it. Big, pointy, horny fucker. Okay, what a load of bullshit. But what's believed in the first moment, in order to stop you looking, to keep you away, because shame, labels, and all of that, we're playing Buckaroo again. One more label, and everyone's standing back. And maybe they know the truth, but just one more. Ah, yes, he bucked. She bucked. Look at that, straight back into the fucking swamp. Right? Do you get it? You just keep labeling people up. Crazy. Might medicate. I might dish. Boom, Buckaroo, off you go. You know, it's too scary. Oh my god, I might get sucked in by a demon or possessed. People will take you. In order for that, you would have to have programmed your own mind. You'd have to give yourself a baseline. What would the baseline look like? Well, language pattern, and what gifts are you going to have when you go down there? I would like to be able to be above all animals. Oh, okay, then just press F7. All right, now press F8. Okay, do you want to be able to be like this? I want to be a little bit of a bastard and a little bit of a loving person. I can be all of these emotions at once. And why not? They all serve a purpose. They're tools at the end of the day. You'd have to type all of that in. How would you want animals to be? Because I can guarantee if humans were programming this, well, I'd like to be able to talk to the animals. Right you are. Control, Alt, Delete. Let's go again then. Talk to animals. Yes. This. Hey. So, you know, we'd have to build safeguards. But anyway, so as we are teaching the past, which is technically going to be then the future, because we look at it as down,
Yeah.
and they don't know no different. So you kind of look at it as the past. Anyway, it's weird. Until they come up to date with the future. And then they're to run ahead with the future and pass this information down. Pass it down. They grow with the knowledge. And they're supposed to expand the knowledge as they grow. Expand it. If you were a divine, anything, God, whatever, and the ones that expand their awareness, you know, what was once fearful, what was once seen as maybe control, what was once seen as a devil or unknown or scary or fear or, you know, you're going to shake your circuits until you go on a paper trail. All the clues are there. Just left there for you. By the time you reach a certain level of development, as when you're traversing and you understand then that you are the oldest force, the oldest existence in the most youngest environment. Could you believe that? Could you understand that? Oh, bloody hell. We're fucking old. This is young, but we're old. Could you imagine that? To be old when something is so young. In its baby stages. In its learning how to crawl. Before it begins to stand up itself and starts to, okay, alright, I really know, we've got this. Yes, you most certainly have. Even when it's halfway. And then to think that when it's starting to wind down from a cycle, or apparently it ends in a big explosion or whatever, a big rip or whatever you believe, string, and it all pulls apart. You would be young compared to how old that has got.
Yeah.
What a weird feeling, really, isn't it? That you are old when it is young, and you are incredibly young when it is old.
Yeah.
Again, if the time ratio has give you enough time from point A to point B, that should remain question marked, and you keep going, and then you begin to piece together all of this stuff, and then you're like, hold on a second. there's something else here. And then you all begin to align to it. I think you will align to it. You know, you get to a certain understanding, a certain development. It seems like one of the biggest stories right now. A few will get it, large amounts will not. The rest will label it like buckaroo to buck you back. And until you get there, and then you look back through history and then be like, whoa. And it makes sense. Why does it make sense? Well, because something was already there, and then it becomes revealed. It doesn't become revealed in the moment, but looking back, it becomes revealed. Well, that person, holy fucking shit. All of these people you are it, yes. Yes, of course. Again, well, why didn't you tell us? Why did you not? Because you wouldn't have believed it. You're going to find this out. Now you're going to have the joys of now when you reach this certain level, and that's all humans if you walk to it. Mm-hmm. Welcome, you've unlocked to this level of divine, after, eternal, or whatever it may be. That comes with some more gifts, because it's another level, another level, another level. The more you know, the more your brain can play with, and the more unlocks in you to develop and enhance this stuff. You got to be able to know it. Not 100% perfectly, but you got to know what you're doing. You got to be able to play around with this shit. You'll go off in one direction, and again, no matter what you do, it's still learned, whether it's successful or not, whether it goes extinct or it doesn't. None of this information ever is truly lost. It can't be. And you see, just when you think that you'll reach that unlocking, and it feels really good. Mm-hmm. And then resurrection, which is really twisted. It's like someone's gonna, a good God will come here and be like, right, I'm gonna lift you up. That's it, you get back out your grave. All right, now you get out your grave. A God that would ever do that, it was not a God. Mm-hmm. Because what would be the point in resurrecting you? What, for you to live eternal? Here. No. Lesson be done again, sure, but not this way. But to resurrect you here, for you to die again, is very pointless. That doesn't make any sense to do that. Because you're forwarding into the future, right? The more you pass on, and the more resources, and the more you begin to work out, and the more you begin to know, begins to enhance your mindsets as you go, and you're developing with these until you reach that level of understanding and knowing, and then something happens. Wonderful. You meet it. You resonate. You are there. You are not there because you said you're there. You're there because you developed towards that. You put all of these pieces together. It's no longer as scary, right? Because you worked it out. You'll feel clever. It's fucking wonderful. Even if I said any of this shit now, it doesn't matter if it's believed, not believed in the future, believed. Someone else comes out and says this in the future. It really doesn't matter. What really is when you reach that moment and the look back ripple. You spent all of this time being taught from the past into the future, right? And off you go from that past remnant, passed down remnant. That's why it's got to be authentic. You're giving information that needs to be accurate for them to explore and expand the mindset. It's no good giving them bits of an equation so that they're like, is it? Isn't it? Could it be? Maybe. Because the outcome is predictable. They're always going to have that is it or isn't it approach. It just doesn't work. There's a lot of factors that can go wrong in that. It's like eggs in the same basket. And then when you turn back as the life forces, you are going to pass that information backwards. Mm-hmm. What you know now, you're going to teach it in resurrection, which is not resurrection as you understand it. Maybe you've figured out how to pull the essence out of what makes you you, this.
Yeah.
That comes with some challenges. It isn't as easy as just let's just suck a soul out. No, because you've got these structures. And if you overdo it and over anticipate the power, that's a lot of it's not great in the first time. You have to play around with it. It's already possible for humans to clone. That is enough to say that it's already possible for that to happen. One particular branch that you can walk on is understanding identical twins. Question is, where does it get that information from? So then we can dive in and romanticize with pressure chamber, the womb. When we look at all of these factors, and you look at all of what that is, and you pay attention to it, and then you understand cloning, that's an interesting thing. So you could probably better someone's life. You would imagine this, if you could split someone in half and put up all of the right fixtures that cause you cut away the bad half, and another one appears untarnished, such like an identical twin. And then you splice the other side away, and then the other side grows. Could you imagine that? But that already happens. That's your version of the axolotus losing a wing. And then out, not always, and not perfectly, but still another limb. It's a very interesting thing, right?
Yeah.
And we understand suspended animation. Being in the womb, you're quite suspended. What's the hormone being released in that? What does that do? Does that create a taut moment, a moment of not doing much, minimal activation? The temperature, the pressure. You know, you can look at these factors and say, well, that might not create eternal life, but if it starts getting a little bit worn down, is there a way to play with that ratio? I think twins are more fascinated with this ratio. It's that. Do you understand that sort of pane of glass type process? But really, it's hermaphrodites. You know, life forms come from male, female, he, she. Could you imagine that? What love was about? And sort of separated. Were there eyes back then? Is it possible that there weren't? That would be interesting. Some life forms don't need eyes. They can still see. Some do need. Some just need ears. Some make sounds. Some feel vibration. There are so many ways to see. The map that is built, which would be the reality, must be equal to what it is, because that poses another question. Who taught you how to see that using that instrument? If you have no eyes, but you can map a terrain, if it came to drawing pictures and you all had fingers and a capability of understanding a concept of drawing, one life form without eyes, one life form with eyes, would be a human. Another one was humanoid to a degree, but no eyes, no ears, no sounds, just an internal knowing that mapped the area that they were in. And if they were to draw you a map, and you were to draw one, maybe they'd see it. Who knows? It'd be very, very weird to understand it. Who's seeing correctly? That's the bit that really pulls me up. But even still, life forms then begin to look backwards when they reach this, and then begin to teach the younger generations, the ones that resurrect, which would be younger in the terms of how old they are, of existence age, not birthday age, existence age. The human species have made it that far, then they've got to teach the next generation. What if they got to teach them? Well, what all that is, but backward teach it as opposed to forward teach it, which is forward teaching because you live in a backward understanding concept. It's hard to explain it because your mind, I understand how your mind is wired to see it this way versus that way. The growth is this way in age, but the teaching is this way. Life moves this way, teaching this way. Then it should push out, push out, push out. And then it's the opposite way. It switches. Then it's going to take time for the older ones in terms of universal understanding, not age, as in how long you've been living for, as a species, not as individuals. It's going to have to go backwards. Do you get it? Waiting for the next to teach, and it's going to enhance a little bit more, and more information is going to come, and it's going to enhance and more information, and so forth and so on. And so it gets more challenging, but the next one has the information on the basic level, the baseline of education. Because remember, even if it went from here to here in teaching, it can also go from point here backwards to point here. They all hold that middle ground. So you are a force in between a force of current and your mom and dad and teachers and peers and current. And one day they're no longer here. Then it's you. And you become that current force. And then you stay in the middle for a bit, and then you begin to pass that information down to your kids. Then your kids grow and pass the information down to their kids. And then they grow and pass it down. And then it goes backwards, the other way. Where the kids become the teachers. Isn't that? And then where does age sit? Which way does it truly go? Which way is it being taught right now? Which is forwards, which is backwards? Have you already made it and this is the echo? This is the backward teaching. Who knows? You can't know because when you came into it, you're born into it, and everyone's been born. It's always looked like it's going this way. Which is interesting, isn't it? And then the tales from past have been sort of altered a little bit, just to give you those breadcrumbs to hold in your mind. That is it or isn't it? And I think the first thing that when you begin to teach it backwards, and there is a clear sign, when they're ready, then they're ready for the grand reveal, let's say. And that teaching, all of the information that is then known in the collective, yes? So let's say these are beings that are fucking old in terms of universal cycles. Age becomes different, right? If you could live for eternity, when do you judge your age? When you were born, how many cycles you've seen? Well, where does your age then come into it? When you made it, when you didn't? You see, age then becomes a very... And then how fast does your awareness increase? That's another thing as well. If it's quicker, it makes no point counting your age, because if it did, it would be like having a birthday every second. Do you get what I mean? Which you don't do you? It sounds weird to say that you would celebrate your age every second. Hey, I'm going to have a birthday. What are you doing? Oh, it's my birthday again. Oh, just by talking to you, I've just had another 4 birthdays. Now I've just had 5. Now I've had 100. Blah, blah, blah. But at any moment to come down here, you are much more older than any of that. Now, we talk about the periodic table, the quantum, and the physical. To go again times 2 with the information and then condensing the information. That's an interesting thing. That's another realm altogether. So you will be propped up in a biome times 2, and now it's recycling again, with the current information that you learnt in that short amount of time. So you understand that I was talking in the last video about anchor points being, an anchor point is Earth. Stay attached to the Earth and die when the Earth dies. Die with that, end of. Then there's another key marker that you might leave the Earth, but then be hesitant to leave your sun, your star.
Yeah.
And then you are anchored to the time ratio of when that star extinguishes. Perhaps your planet extinguishes first, but the star keeps going for an extra, let's say 5,000 years, just keep it short. You're supposed to die 100,000 years, but you've now made it to 5,000 years. If you are hesitant to move from the star, then you are limited to the amount of information, the amount of growth, the amount of knowledge, and the amount of understanding of your biome or universe biome based on the time that you have been looking and aware. No awareness, no concept, that's it. Very limited amount of information. But let's say you keep going, you keep going, you keep going, and your awareness expands, 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 and you make it to the end. And another one begins to manifest. At current knowledge means then that you are no longer anchored to the universe. So the Earth is this big, but you leave it. The star would run out at this much. Therefore, this allowed you to increase a ghost line that was more than what the Earth. If you stayed on the Earth, you would only understand enough because you became aware of it for a short amount of time, which seems like a long time in the grand scheme of things. This is the star. Then this is two stars. Each time you keep going beyond, 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 you should have died here if you just remained anchored on the planet. Should have died here.
Okay.
Now you're measured to this much amount of information that you can learn. Then you're still learning, still discovering, still exploring, still finding, still searching about yourself and where you come from, where you fit, where you're headed. Perhaps this enhancement of the divine is getting a bit more in tune with you. Other life forms, if you meet those two, that's even more data, even more information. And then the universe starts to wander out. And let's say you die at the end of the universe.
Okay.
That means that you were only able to learn as much information as the construct, the quantum, the field that allowed you, the arena that allowed you to function in was going for. So you would peak to about here. Now let's say there were other life forms that thought more faster, didn't have as many hurdles. There's going to be a limit on how much any life form, the ceiling, the dome, that you are ever going to be able to learn in one universal cycle. Whether some go more faster or lower or less, there's that ratio of here and here. No more than here, only in extreme circumstances. That means they didn't have extinction events, they didn't have hunger events, their minds developed much more quicker, faster. They didn't have the long periods of throttling, stagnation, throttling, stagnation, throttling, stagnation, right? The life forms take a pattern like this where they sort of go and same with their life pulse as well. It's very interesting. So you would understand that in extreme circumstances, but there would be a limit. There would be no more that you could learn from universal figure of 8. You would only be able to learn this much when conditions are great. When conditions are average, you're only going to be able to learn this much. And it's going to be different from one from over there, from one from over here, from one from over there, because you all go in different directions. That's just the beauty of it. Even still, the overall collected knowledge, data, that comes from all life forms living in that, you've got.
Okay.
Which, added to what you already know, then will enhance what you understand, making this even bigger. So you go from what they've learned applied to what you know, yes? And what you've learned as being the, let's call this divine, let's call this the life forms, and let's say we combine the information, which is this here and this here, which then amplifies, equals, increases the amount that you've learned. Yes, by guiding, by leading, by even if it didn't make it, it did make it. All of the life forms learned this in this particular biome. That adds into your database of what you first understood, what you went through yourself. So if humans made it and they were put into this area here, which would be smaller than that, among with other life forms, and they combine all of their knowledge together. Then there are some new life forms come up in a biome that collect a load of information. Some make it, some go extinct very quickly, some last, some traverse, some make it into this. They want it, they go, and that's where they head. They do everything they can to get there. And then it unlocks, because the more they have, the more they know, the more the brain activates, the more it unlocks gifts, the more trustworthy you become, blah, 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 blah. You align to this. You're capable of understanding differences. You're different to one another, but yet, yes, aware that you are different, but aware that you are uniquely beneficial to the overall circuitry of it. That your information is just as valid as the next person's. And the more you have, the more differences. Yes, it means that you can go off in one direction, you can go off in another, and another, and another, and develop and this, and this, bring it all together, and then you're more of a force. Then the life forms that have made it, haven't made it, but have done a little bit, understood a little bit of their memory of what rose up over there, then starts to give you a really big version of this. But one thing that it doesn't ever tell you, and I guess this is where you would go on the next phase. That with all of that information, you would think that if you just sat there and did nothing, just watched these cycles, brought up life forms, took off the life forms that didn't make it, but still the data is there collected. If you just stayed there, you would think, well, that's it. That's all there is. There's nothing else to learn. Until you take this data that you've got here and shove it into another biome, teardrop. And this could be another version of the universe. One that is natural, naturally forming would be this. Next one, slightly unnatural, still natural, but yet you are at that young universe, very young. So you're at that young universe with this current knowledge, yeah? And you put it in here, knowing that you would only get this much information here at a maximum from point at universe start, universe end, and let's say you die towards the end, don't figure it out, whatnot. You would only ever be able to learn this ceiling here. But yeah, take what you know and learn in this one and take it over to the next restart. Do you see how you can start to condense your information and the knowledge ratio increases? So now that you're at times 2. Times 2 means that you can get above this ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Because the time is you learn this much. Now you'd be much more better equipped. You would be faster at seeing, wouldn't you? It opens your awareness. You're just trying to help you shift your awareness. Whether it's true or not, the fact is the story building gets you creative. Creativity is what leads you. It should be inspiring to walk forwards, or it makes you think, shit me, it's too much. I don't know if I can do it. Where's my coffin? Right, do you get what I mean? So what you learned here and thought you knew, training grounds. Second ratio round, and you're a bit more aware, you know what you're looking for. Don't know it all, but you know it most. Then you can expand and enhance what you know. Even still, you think that that is a massive amount of information, but then ask yourself a question, has anybody else done it? Third, on top of that, is anything else got more information, and have they tried crushing this into this? Because what you know here, and then imagine if you lived in that ratio again, with that data, could you expand upon it? Condense it? What you thought you knew, could you times 2 it in that amount of time? Now, by the time you've popped back out, there's been more life forms in a natural one, which then add to the database again, and then it's just, where the fuck does this end? Wouldn't you ever want to know that? Would that ever be something that would you like that? Would that be worth eternal existence to you?
No.
Would it though? Would it? Truly would it? Could you make a sacrifice of birth and death with that awareness? Then could you tailor and tweak the this database is fucking huge. It is massive. Can you think about all of the various types of language there are? Even just being the one that collects this information, that is interesting. The variations of language. So language on the planet is, what would you call it? You'd say humans. No, but there's also animals, dolphins, ants. All of that language, all of it. How would you learn what ants were saying? I mean, truly, honestly, you could look at them, study them from the outside. But you can't know what the ants are going on about unless you became an ant. Right? Do you understand that? So if there was a way that you could become an ant for a bit, a baby ant, wouldn't the baby ant learn from the adult ants all of that information when it grows up to an adult? Wouldn't it be able to understand with intimacy how ants... Could you imagine that? The science in the future could be something that is so weird that you run out of life forms because you've tried them all on your own planet, that you are able to make an avatar, shrink what you understand, go into an ant avatar, live with an ant, live with a dinosaur, live with an octopus, live with... from a baby, grow with it, take all of that information, and when you die, that information comes with you. It doesn't get lost. And your human brain would be able to translate what that meant based on what you experienced. It'd feel like an enhanced daydream, but you would be able to learn from the animals themselves what language was, what it all meant. No, does that ever... to know what they're saying, if they're saying anything at all, how they're communicating. So we can look at a pigeon and think, well, they have these ions in the beak. Wait, is it that? It could be. But understand this: some other birds have this little splodge in their visual perception, which understands where north is and this, that, and the other. That's how they migrate. And you think that you get it all right, and until humanity moves forwards, it's making computers, it's understanding how to put you in torpor mode, whilst a piece of you transitions into an ant structure. Isn't that weird? You start communicating and teaching you how to communicate like it, and then you're able to translate that based in your human experience to know exactly what they're saying, what all of these gestures mean, and what that gesture means, and how it's signaling to one another. What would you do in that situation if humanity was able to do that tomorrow with technology? Would you like to try what a dolphin was? To understand how it's talking, communicating, what all of those clicks, clacks, and everything else means? Then you would reach a ceiling that you would run out of things, life forms here to figure out, right? Wouldn't that open Pandora's box to religious? It would have a really big twist on what you understand as religion. So it teaches you what it is saying, how it is, what it likes, what that experience was. Would you gain more experience? Would you become more appreciative to nature, trees, animals, if you could do that? Do you think you would appreciate it if you were to live like a tree and experience from a tree's perspective what a tree's perspective was all about?
Well, maybe next time I will be tree.
Huh?
Who knows? Maybe next time I will be tree.
No, it's not about next time. It's about now as your human form, not next time. No. As your human form, you could experience what a tree is doing in a torpor event. Piece of you goes over and is in... And then when it's brought back in its death, you snap back into your awareness as being you, but you take all of that data with you, and therefore you're able to translate what the tree, either it thinks or it doesn't. It sees something or it doesn't. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a bit different when it comes to a tree, but still, if we're taking of a livestock or whatever else it is, to grow as a baby, as it, but have that growing awareness. And then would you test capability in the animal? As you are an animal, piece of awareness is shipped over that you know that you're not that animal, you are this person here. It's just that bit of awareness, that bridge between the two. Oh man, I'll make you a question about cables everywhere, but there's none. Would you test what that vessel is capable of doing
Yeah.
with your human awareness? You see, the animal might not do it itself because it's limited to a certain amount of different things, yeah? Never mind vision. Fucking hell, vision. Oh, you'll be there all day. If you could look at one of these animals that jumps in Africa, I can't remember the name of it, really big eyes, it might be Australia. It can see the moons of Jupiter really clearly.
Africa.
It could be.
It's Africa. It's a kind of
Possum type thing? No.
monkey, not monkey. Monkey,
Really cute,
proper
big
monkey.
eyes, yeah?
Yeah, proper monkey.
It's to be able to see. And then what about if you could become a bat? Be able to shriek and know that you are seeing with your ears, knowing that a part of you knows that you are still you, but it just sort of bursts in the quantum realm, in your imagination as the animal, which you wouldn't usually have that you would know about, but it bounces back and forth. There's that sort of awareness sending that information back. Would you be able to create a better technology for human ears, develop a technology that could hear like the bat and understand the bat in order to understand your awareness a bit more for the bat and for yourself?
Yeah.
Do you ever think you could get bored in anything like that? And then that's just life forms here, and then if you met some other life forms, man, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? That you could just go down there as a, just glitch in with them. You don't know what they're saying, you have no idea, and then they teach you language.
Yeah.
So that you know how to communicate with them. Wouldn't you? If you could be around, they're hostile, but even still, you don't know whether they are hostile or they're just misunderstood because the language barrier, just no idea. What the fuck are you saying? Well, I think this one just meant this. Well, there's repeated cackles in it. It sounds like there's some sort of pattern to this. And then you listen to a bird, and it's like, well, there is pattern in this as well, but what's it saying? Fuck, I don't know. Right? Do you get what it feels so alien in nature. Yeah. So wouldn't you go down and live with them? Become them? They teach you every single bit of their language. They teach you how to be human. Come on. That's it, this way we learn this. Look here. Oh, I fucking get it now. I understand it. Then if you could communicate, then you could arrange the stars in a way. We come in peace. You'd be able to make this sort of cautiously meeting type thing. But the problem is, there would be advantage and disadvantage. Well, what's the advantage? What's the disadvantage? Well, you know what they're saying and how to communicate with them, but they ain't got a shitting clue of what you're saying to one another. That's probably the way it's going to be looked at. So what would you do then? Dangle in some technology? So that they can come and be a part of you as well? Man, that'd give you a whole different understanding of fucking war, wouldn't it? Because you could go in there and be a bastard. And a Guy Fawkes, you fucking beings, motherfuckers. Right, you could do this. It's not impossible, right? Yeah. Anyway, let's say if you found a way to communicate with each other and it was all lovely and nice. With this type of technology, let's say if humans had developed this, of being able to get in animals, and then they had some animals. Doesn't look like animals, but they appear to be like animals. But they go off in a different direction. They didn't make the same stuff you did. They made something completely different but went off in a different direction, but equally could teach you how to build your own version and you could utilize it. But likely you could teach them how to understand their animals even more so. Because you would be, I really want to know what those animals are saying. Yeah. But you could really impress them with that shit. But maybe if they did it with you, they could impress you with that stuff.
Yeah.
So they could teach you how to speak what they speak. And you could also teach them about their animals, or they could teach you about your animals, or they could teach you about this, this, and this. You know, do you see how the technology always goes in multiple directions, and when you share that, again, it feels like the power, doesn't it? It feels like the overall power of everything, that you are so high, mighty, and just better than... And then this kind of sits in the background. Pandora's box, and then how long would it take vessels that have learned this much? Doesn't mean that there's any hierarchy. It really doesn't. But there's trust. Trust, yes, that trust. These ones you would take an incredible amount of time to learn any of this. There'd be no point fighting. It would be an exchange. Do you see how it's got to be trustworthy to come into that, as opposed to, it's always feels so primitive. And then how long would it take you to learn that information? And then there's, even by the time you thought that you've learned all of that, there's more info coming in. Would that sound like a life that you would like to live? I mean, if humans had to vote it, is that an afterlife? Is that really it? Would they want it?
Learning and learning.
Yes.
If it's fun, yeah. Is it fun?
Well, do what you want, but still, would that be something that you would feel like, that was worth it? Or you would rather be a shadow, technically not, a light blitz to the past, and not be aware of existing at all?
No, I think it's...
You see, it's that curiosity part that starts to wake up in you.
Yeah.
You see, that's the trade-off, isn't it? That curiosity. If I say no, then I won't know, but I'm too fucking curious. I want to know. Don't you want to know? Well, I do want to know, but I don't want to know. But I kind of all of a sudden, that curiosity, that mystery, that novel. How come it ended this way? I need closure. What's wrong with you, Terry? Sit down. Welcome, I'm Dr. So-and-so. Oh, okay. I read this book and the ending. Look at it. Yeah, I know. I need some sort of tablet to this. I need some closure. It didn't end correctly. It's a mystery. I'm puzzled with it, Sort of cliffhanger. What is it? Do I make my own ending, or do I assume, or how did it end? I need to know. Who's the writer of this? I need them. I've seen everything, said the writer. I've seen stalkers. I've seen this. I've seen that. I've seen people, love and hate me like Marmite, okay? But you, yes, me, you are the exception to the rule. Yeah. You're writing a fucking sequel on this. There's no leaving this cliffhanger. You need to tell me, how did this story end? Well, I left it for you. No. Don't like doing my own shit. I need to know. Come on. Tell me now. At least tell me. It's a war pistol, by the way, but even still, this sort of... Oh, my days. There's that curiosity, yeah? I get it, it's not for everyone. And maybe it's none of these things at all, and it's just rolling into a world of delusion. I don't know. Reality is far delusional than you would imagine.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I do.
Anyway, I'm going to leave this one here because you're giving me that look that says you have spoke way too much. I don't give a shit. Anyway, but yeah, so I'm going to leave it there. But
Okay.
very interesting.
Yeah.
I'll manifest something